Here we go. Hello, everyone. Sorry, I got to mess with my mic. My son has been on my computer. Okay, hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Garrett Smith, the nutrition detective around these YouTube parts. And this is the Love Your Liver live stream number 44. It is June 3rd, 2022. We just recently passed 2,200 subscribers on the channel, so I'm pretty excited about that. And I passed 1,500 subscribers on my Twitter, so the word is spreading. Keep spreading the good word so we can help more and more people to wake up to how they've been duped. So I always start off each episode with usually some science and some testimonials. And today we're actually going to be going over the the Ray Peat-inspired nutrition that's out there. And instead of positive testimonials, I'm going to be going over some negative testimonials from people who have done that. It's a disaster. So save yourself the mistake of doing it, because the only people who say it helps are the people who it hasn't broken yet. It breaks everyone. And if you go and you look at some of the biggest practitioners out there, they're not models of health by any means. So let's get into it. So one of the things I like to say here, and I emphasize it inside the Love Your Liver Network, is that this is not a game. You may think you're bright and you're going to go out and do all this on your own, and you might read the research wrong, as we have done in the past, and you do an experiment and you kick your own ass because you interpreted the research incorrectly. I did it. I've done it multiple times. This has been almost a 4-year process now. You're probably going to make the same mistakes in the research that we did, and you're going to have your experiment of one. Whereas inside the Love Your Liver Network, we have my pattern recognition experience, which I like to think is a pretty darn good thing. And then we have the experiences of over 1,100 people who are in there, who are commenting every day. It's kind of like, the feed inside the network is kind of like a mini Facebook, except people are actually helpful. That's the big difference between the Love Your Liver Network and Facebook, is that I kind of police it a bit and make sure people aren't saying stupid things that are completely untrue. And I make sure that people are not there saying that one diet is good for everyone, because I don't believe that. I do believe that certain people are absolutely geared towards certain shifts in their diet. Sometimes those shifts can be fairly heavy. Some people are shifted very much towards more muscle meat, for example, and few people, some very few, are shifted more towards like an almost all vegan. And I'm okay with that if that's what people's experiments have shown them is best for them. Who's out there telling people that, like, let's say I knew that I do better on a higher percentage of muscle meat in my diet, and then some internet butthole is going to come up and tell me that no, the vegan diet is the best for you. And I'm like, I tried vegetarian in college, even with high protein, and I was down to 168 pounds. I looked sick. I was the weakest I've ever been in my life. I had the worst flu, high fever I've ever had in my life, soaked the bed like my bed had a puddle in it when I finally broke that fever. Worst health of my life. I seem to be doing pretty well now. And I finally admitted to myself, hey, maybe I do better with a little more meat and a little less beans for me. And I listened to it, and it's working. So you know what I tell people in the network? If you know that something works for you, and it's within kind of the guidelines that we're doing here, if somebody said, man, I just don't feel good when I eat gluten, don't eat gluten. Can some people eat it? Yeah. People have been eating it for thousands of years, folks. If you don't tolerate gluten, you broke something in your system, whether toxicity or nutrient deficiency or whatever. And then we also breed all the wheat to be exactly the same. So the gluten is exactly the same. So if you become sensitive to it, you overdo it. And then there's the whole glyphosate problem in wheat. So some people do better without red meat. I know the carnivores out there are like, oh my God, no way. And it's like, yeah, absolutely. There's some people out there who do not do well with red meat. Am I going to force them to eat red meat? No. Anyway, off that rant. So now back to this is not a game. So here's this paper called Rescue from Hypervitaminosis A. Let me finish the title. Let me plug this link in here before I forget. Rescue from Hypervitaminosis A or potentiation of retinoid toxicity by different modes of cyclodextrin administration. Let me read that again. Catch the two very different things that can be going on here. Rescue from hypervitaminosis A. Oh, that's good, right? Or potentiation of retinoid toxicity. Oh, that's really bad. By different modes of cyclodextrin administration. Everybody I know is going, what's cyclodextrin, Dr. Smith? Tell us all about it. Cyclodextrin is a branched, from what I understand of it, it's a branched starch molecule. And like, think of dextrose. Maltodextrin is a bunch of dextroses stuck together. Cyclodextrin would tend to implicate. I did not do great in organic chemistry in college. I did not like that class. But anyway, if you think of cyclo, we're probably talking about something that's kind of a circle, a bunch of dextrins that are kind of a circle. Anyway, so here I'm going to read parts of the abstract that I think are important. A synthetic derivative of beta-cyclodextrin in which all 2,6-hydroxy groups were converted to methoxy groups. That's not really that important. Considerably accelerated the dissolution and increased the solubility of all trans retinoic acid, ATRA, also sold to people in creams as Retin-A. If you didn't know, there was a giant study on veterans. We always do the greatest things to the veterans in our health care industry. They decided, well, we think that giving veterans Retin-A, tretinoin, to rub on their face is going to prevent skin cancer. Right? This occurs naturally in the body. I've shown the study where they show that if you eat vegetables high in beta carotene, all trans retinoic acid goes up in your bloodstream. But these guys were putting tretinoin, all trans retinoic acid, on their faces. You know, they had to stop the study early because too many of them were dying. That worked really well, right? So here we go. Dimethyl beta-cyclodextrin affected the toxicity of retinoic acid. The toxicity of retinoic acid. But retinoic acid is the active form of vitamin A that's water soluble. Oh, if you believe the BS about water soluble things and you can just excrete them and they don't build up and they can't hurt you, like most people think with B vitamins, no, water soluble things can very much hurt you and they can very much be toxic. And not all vitamins are essential. Anyway, dimethyl beta-cyclodextrin affected the toxicity of retinoic acid in mice in a manner depending upon the method of administration. When dimethyl beta-cyclodextrin was administered simultaneously at the same time with retinoic acid, the toxic effects were increased and set in rapidly without symptoms of hypervitaminosis A. The toxic effects were increased and set in rapidly without symptoms of hypervitaminosis A. So think like a Trojan horse, right? Okay. It's snuck in. It's not showing outright symptoms, but they're showing the toxic effects. I'm guessing that was they were looking at the liver enzymes, stuff like that. Or B, when dimethyl beta cyclodextrin was administered alone after the hypervitaminosis A had been established, the survival rate was improved. The survival rate was improved. Oh, so you mean less mice died from active vitamin A? Oh, wait, let me just make something clear. All trans retinoic acid is what the garbage that the protocol people base their one study on vitamin A increasing ceruloplasmin production. The one study. And the root cause people will say that synthetic forms of vitamin A don't do the same thing as natural, but the whole basis of their statement that you need vitamin A to make ceruloplasmin is based on a study of synthetic all trans retinoic acid. Dang it. It's so hard not to be hypocritical these days. How do you base your whole thing on science that you say is illegitimate because it's not natural vitamin A? Whereas you have me saying that all forms of retinoids, vitamin A, are exactly the same toxicity when you're talking about the same amount and the same form, whether it's natural or synthetic. That would make sense. Anyway, so you know how I one of the things I talk about inside the Love Your Liver program is that you need to stop intoxing before you start detoxing, or you will make yourself feel worse because your body's always trying to detox. It's always trying to kick out the garbage. But if you're putting in garbage at the same time, and then let's say you try to increase your rate of detox, now you got twice as much garbage in your blood and you feel worse. Oh, wait. When dimethyl beta cyclodextrin was administered simultaneously with retinoic acid, the toxic effects were increased. Gosh, Dr. Smith, that sounds exactly like you should stop intoxing before you start detoxing. When dimethyl beta cyclodextrin was administered alone after the hypervitaminosis A vitamin A toxicity had been established, the survival rate was improved. You need to stop intoxing before you start detoxing. So if you're kind of one of those people who is like on the fence and you're going, well, I think Dr. Smith's stuff sounds pretty good, but I'm not totally sure. So I'm going to keep eating vitamin A while I try to detox it. And oh gosh, I feel like shit. You don't have to listen to me for me to be right. You don't have to listen to me. You don't have to take it all as truth. It may be all truth, but you don't have to listen one bit. So yeah, you should stop intoxing before you start trying to detox. This is true of mercury. You got people out there trying to detox mercury out of their bodies when they still have the fillings in their mouth and they're still eating fish and shellfish. What are you doing? Stop putting in the poison. I mean, hopefully you're hearing me saying this going, oh yeah, maybe you feel a little dumb. That's okay. I've felt dumb many times. How do you think I felt when I read Grant Genereux's book about vitamin A toxicity for the first time? And then I'm like, oh my God, I've been giving my clients like retinol palmitate up to 30,000 units a day. I felt dumb. If you feeling dumb helps you to make better decisions, you feel dumb temporarily, you get over it, and you change the dumb stuff you were doing. So now you're doing better. This is how we all learn. I don't want you to go mope and just be like, oh, I'll just throw up your hands and be like, oh, I'm just going to quit. I'm not going to do anything. Oh, this is so terrible. No, don't do that. Realize you made a mistake and change your actions going forward. One of the ways you could change your actions going forward would be to join the Love Your Liver program and start figuring out all the ways that you've been duped and all the ways that you've been potentially poisoning yourself with the bullshit nutrition and health information that you've been getting in the past. So anyway, on to Ray Peat. First, let me tell you, I had a phase where I did the Ray Peat nonsense. And I got it from, I want you to hear me very carefully on this, because Matt Stone is a buddy of mine. He's a good buddy of mine. We wrote a book together called Solving the Paleo Equation. Now, my sections of that book on EMF and exercise, for those of you who want exercise information from me, or you want information that I had about EMF, electromagnetic fields, and how to, back then it was more how to minimize your exposure to them and reduce your exposure to them, which is always good. Now I realize I fix EMF sensitivity by fixing people's copper toxicity and fixing people's iron issues, because copper is the most conductive or electric mineral in your body. It would turn you into basically a living wire. So if you have electromagnetic fields around you, if you don't know what a capacitor is, you're kind of becoming a capacitor. You get the copper fixed and you stop being so electric. Too much electricity in our little chemical bag of muscle suit here makes you get messed up. You are a biochemical, electrical being. Magnetic too. Oh, magnetics. What's the most magnetic mineral in your body? Iron. What if you have too much iron in your body? You become too magnetic. And somebody's going to be out there, they're going to be like, well, what about useful iron or bioavailable iron? Or iron's still magnetic. And then you think about the people out there saying you should never take zinc. It'll antagonize your bioavailable copper as you become more and more sick. Maybe you start getting nerves tingling, or your mind is buzzing and racing and you can't shut it down and you're becoming too conductive. And they're telling you to never take zinc supplements because it'll antagonize your copper. Well, guess what zinc is? Zinc is not conductive and it kicks copper out of the system. So maybe if you're becoming too conductive, you should replace it with something that is not conductive. This all makes sense when we figure out the problem. It all makes sense. And we have testimonials of fixing people to show that it does work. So anyway, on to the Ray Peat stuff. So if you look down in the show notes, I've put the links to my Facebook post where I posted the Ray Peat food pyramid. It's brilliant. That's massive sarcasm if you didn't catch it. And I asked people for their comments about if their health was ruined by the Ray Peat approach. Oh, back to the Matt Stone thing. So Matt Stone, I mean, I'll always be thankful for him because he introduced me to vitamin A toxicity. He introduced me to Grant Genereux's work. So now I'm friends with Matt and I'm friends with Grant. And now I'm acquaintances with Anthony Mawson, who wrote some of the most important papers about vitamin A toxicity that will ever be. Anyway, Matt was into the Ray Peat thing for a while. Those of you who came to me back from the 180 Degree Health days, you know that. I got into it. Let's see, in the short month I did it, where I was thinking, oh, I'll do goat milk because being in the health world, goat milk is easier to digest and more nutritious and dirt. And goat milk is crazy high in vitamin A, probably high in copper too. So I thought I'd be real smart and do goat milk as all the dairy and the Ray Peat nonsense. And I was following the diet and I was getting fatter, absolutely fatter. I was getting sinus headaches. I was getting sinusitis and sinus headaches within 2 weeks. Disaster. I quit. Now, I know people who did the Ray Peat thing and they'll talk about healing pounds on it. Like, okay, let me tell you, any health approach that tells you you're probably going to get fatter at the start is probably bullshit. Your body makes fat to store toxins. Why do you think when people eat shitty food, they start getting fatter? Do you think there's a correlation? Probably. So, I have people come to me, they're like, I gained 100 pounds doing that pro-metabolic diet stuff. 100 pounds because they were waiting for the magical bullshit that the Ray Peters talk about, where you're going to put on some healing pounds first, and then it's all just going to fall off of you as your metabolism blossoms into this wonderful thing as you're talking to practitioners who are out of shape, overweight, not healthy, potentially infertile, even obese, if you know which practitioners I'm talking about. Taking thyroid hormone. Ooh, must be really pro-metabolic diet if you're taking thyroid hormone. Anyway, in this Ray Peat diet, it's a food pyramid. They've got at the bottom of the food pyramid carbohydrates, fruits and fruit juices, honey, and what is that last word? I can't even read that last word. What is that? Let me see. Anyway, but some of the Ray Peat people will even have you add straight up white sugar to things like milk. They might even have you add white sugar to orange juice. And they've got all these, there's a mango, there's a cantaloupe, tons of vitamin A, tons of fructose. Now, let me tell you, in the research, one way to induce fatty liver is to eat lots of fructose. Okay. That's the bottom of the food pyramid. That's the things that they think you should base your diet upon, the foundation. Okay. Then you move up the next level. One side of it's split in two: dairy and eggs, milk, ice cream, cheese. Let me just do some basic nutrition education for you. Eating cheese makes you fat. You don't find a lot of lean people who eat cheese. There's a good reason for that. Now take a wild gander at what if you combine a high cheese and dairy diet. Ice cream. Ice cream is the realm of really lean people, is it not? Ice cream, cheese, dairy, eggs. So first we have just the massive amounts of dairy fat in there. Let's add sugar. Let's add lots of vitamin A, which causes cholestasis and fatty liver. Egg yolks, dairy. It's not just the fat in dairy either, folks. I've posted research, Grant has posted research about how there is vitamin A in the whey, W-H-E-Y, and the casein, C-A-S-E-I-N. People say it differently, casein. There is vitamin A in the dairy protein also. So if you think you're doing your whey protein, you're getting away with a low vitamin A diet, no, you're not. Sorry. So combining cheese and lots of sugar, this is only the first two things in. And then we get into animal protein, collagenous meats, and non-PUFA seafood. Seafood is filthy. It's disgusting. It's full of mercury, full of all the poisons we've put into the ocean, antidepressants, benzos. In Seattle, they even tested the fish. It had cocaine in it. Okay? Seriously, stop eating things out of the ocean. It's garbage. Or at least greatly reduce it. Make it a couple of times a year thing. And you know what I do when I eat fish or shellfish? If I'm going to, I don't eat shellfish. I don't eat the cockroaches of the ocean. I don't eat the bottom feeders, the filter feeders. Why? They're not that good. People mostly just use them as a vehicle to shove butter in their cake hole. Okay? It doesn't taste good by itself. People always have to add stuff to it to make it taste decent. Collagen's not saving anybody. I'm sorry, folks. It may make your joints feel a little better, but that's because one of the things that copper does and vitamin A do is ruin your collagen production. So you shove more collagen in and try to make up the damage. Then we go up to the top and we have below ground vegetables, carrots to be consumed daily. Carrots to be consumed daily as a carrot salad. Now, let me just tell you, Ray Peat bases the carrot salad on one study where it showed that people eating carrots reduce their cholesterol like a little bit. One study, he's got people eating carrots every day. Now, here, let me post a link to one of my favorite studies, Carrot Man. Carrot Man, a case of excessive beta-carotene ingestion. So this guy was juicing carrot, or I don't know, he was reported to be ingesting 6 to 7 pounds of carrots per week to facilitate his dieting effort. Carrots are heavy, right? They're fairly heavy. That's not that many carrots a day. People who are juicing carrots would easily get to this to make a decent cup of carrot juice. 6 to 7 pounds of carrots per week to facilitate his dieting effort. The patient was diagnosed with constipation, hypercarotenemia, and possible vitamin A toxicity. Following the cessation of excessive carrot ingestion, his liver enzymes normalized within 1 month. Oh, wait. So the Ray Peters are all about thyroid function, right? And the other paper. From the paper, Carotenemia, a review. I've been over this one before too. So they just said the guy had hypercarotenemia and he was constipated. Constipation is typically associated with what condition? Oh, hypothyroidism. Is that pro-metabolic? Oh, anyway, let me read this one sentence. Hypothyroidism, diabetes mellitus, hepatic liver, and renal kidney diseases may be associated with carotenemia, but this is the best part, but are not caused by ingestion of carotene. What the living hell did they just say? So they're finding a coincidence. Correlation is not causation. That's the pharmaceutical industry's and the poison industry's favorite line. So if you use correlation is not causation often, you're probably not using it well. And you're using it to defend a lack of critical thinking. Okay? Hypothyroidism is associated with carotenemia. Diabetes mellitus is associated with carotenemia. Hepatic disease, liver disease is associated with carotenemia. Renal, kidney disease is associated with carotenemia. But none are possibly caused by carotene. But the only way you would get carotenemia in your blood would be from eating carotenoids, which are plant vitamin A. So the only way you can get high carotenoids in your blood is by eating it. And they associate these diseases with it. But it's definitely not the carotene. Oh, but then we have Carrot Man who ate 6 to 7 pounds of carrot a week to facilitate his dieting. And he got constipation, a classic sign of hypothyroidism. And Ray Peat says to eat your carrot salad every day. Go ahead. See how that works. Just remember, everybody, if you think I'm wrong and you go and you do the Ray Peat diet and it breaks you, because it will, I'll still be here. I'll still be doing this. I'm still willing to help anyone who is open-minded and willing to drop the ideas that made them sick in the first place. What else did we have? Oh, the upper left one, fats, coconut oil, and butter. I don't like either of these. Coconut, remember the soy fad of the late 1990s, early 2000s, and everything became soy. Soy is great for everything. Soy's in everything. We're going to make soy this and soy that and soy that. Do you realize they're doing the same thing with coconuts? They've done the same. Coconut flour and coconut milk and coconut water and coconut oil and coconut this and coconut enemas and coconut whatever. Do you not see that if they're forcing this on you in so many ways, it's not because coconut's so wonderful. And then you got the Weston A. Price authors trying to write whole books about coconut oil's good for your thyroid. What the hell made people think that giant amounts of fat is good for their thyroid? Here's what fats do. Fats store extra poisons in your liver, especially like vitamin A. Your liver likes to bind fat-soluble things to fat and store them in your liver. That's why they say, oh, fat-soluble vitamins could be dangerous because you store them. What do you store them with? Fat. Are you following? And then at the very top, the very peak of the pyramid, liver, consumed weekly. Okay, so let's talk about vitamin A toxicity. They've got lots of bright, they've got orange juice down in the bottom, they've got cantaloupe, they've got mangoes, they've got lots of bright yellow and orange fruits. Okay, there's vitamin A. And let's have dairy. Not only does it come with vitamin A and vitamin D, both poisons when you take them orally, but we've got eggs in there. Do you know that egg yolks basically are comprised of exactly the same things you find in fatty liver, along with tons of vitamin A? So we've got dairy full of vitamin A. We've got egg yolks full of vitamin A. Then we go up a stage and we've got carrots. Daily vitamin A. And then we've got fats, perfect to store vitamin A in your liver, which would, when people go on this diet, they would at the start maybe feel better because if they increase their fat intake, the fat connects with the poisons in their blood and shoves it into their liver. It gets it out of the blood, so they may feel their symptoms go down because it's when the poisons are in your blood that is when you feel the symptoms. Your liver can suffer in silence for years and decades until it blows up on you. And this is when you go to the doctor and the doctor's like, hey, your liver enzymes are like, they went up a lot. Did you start drinking? And you're like, no, I didn't start drinking. I'm doing a healthy diet. Like, you ever heard of Ray Peat? That's when things blow up. My car worked just fine until it broke. When your liver fills up with poisons and it can't store anymore, where do you think all that poison goes? It goes into your blood. And your body also tries to make more storage for it. How does your body store fat-soluble things? Oh, by making more body fat and more liver fat. Let me go find my video on YouTube. Connecting vitamin A and obesity. You want to hear something funny? I had somebody comment on one of my videos saying, this is obviously a failure of the public school system that this guy thinks that vitamin A could cause obesity. I was like, oh boy, go and try your insults somewhere else. Like, I'm sitting there posting study after study, connecting it and using logic. And this guy's like, this is obviously a failure of the school system. I was like, okay, folks, if you're going to try to insult me, I'm at a place where you can't touch me. So let's go into some testimonials from people. So these were publicly posted. These are people posting on my public Facebook. I'm not going to say their names. I'm just going to read the testimonials. If you want to go there, you can see these. So here we go. First one. Yes, I was enjoying the orange juice. I was drinking homemade eggnog to get an extra protein. I don't remember the timeline very well for when I started it. I do recall that for a while before that, I had been convinced to go gluten-free for my thyroid. So I was baking with coconut flour, which required a lot of eggs. Oh, yes, I seem to recall trying to have liver at least once a month, too. No surprise that I got eczema. It was in 2018 that I discovered Grant's site, looked up the common triggers for eczema, mostly, if not all, high vitamin A, of course, and changed my diet. I got rid of it. I'm very grateful to have discovered Grant and then your work regarding vitamin A, etc., Dr. Smith. I'm sticking to this way of eating. That was the first one. So she developed eczema on the Ray Peat thing. That was Grant's major concern. That's what made him figure out the whole vitamin A toxicity thing. Okay, another one. When years ago I first switched from a paleo diet to Ray Peat endorsed foods, I felt great at first. It's called the honeymoon phase. From the sugar and the opiate effect of all the dairy. But most of the symptoms I'd managed to suppress or eliminate on paleo returned within a month or two, along with some worse ones. So I stopped it and tried various other styles of eating. But when I'd start resolving issues again, I'd get complacent and be lured back to Ray Peat because it endorses all my favorite foods: sugar, ice cream, cheese, sweet milky coffee, fruit, etc. Luckily, I never got into liver, but I was always altering variables. It took a few cycles like this to make a definitive connection, but better late than never. Now, implementing Dr. Smith's recommendations and seeing the best improvements of anything I've ever tried in the last 20 years, I too will be sticking with them. Next one, quote, I hate to admit that I got suckered in as well, but thankfully not for a long time, although I had my fair share of liver, and now I cringe at myself thinking back. It seems like 99% of practitioners are regurgitating the same Ray Peat stuff, and I'm about to be the outcast. So glad I found you. We're glad to have you. Let me see. Does this have all? I want all the comments. All the comments. Can't you? I mean, I don't need Facebook to filter my comments. Thank you very much, Facebook. And then there's one more on my Instagram page, which is also linked there. Here it is. Quote, tried it after 4 years of keto. Too successful, too exhausting, and stalled. My car worked just fine until it broke. Okay. Anyway, comma, gained a shit ton of weight. Now just sitting with the weight gain and completely lost and newly allergic to milk. So, fun stuff. And then she put shrugs. So we're here to fix this. This is what we do. And I remember, a couple other things. I remember a guy he's a Facebook friend of mine. I won't say his name, but he's super lean. And he's very fit. And he started doing the Ray Peat way of eating, working with some very well-known, north-south something, Ray Peat practitioners, some sort of direction stuff like north-south. And they have him drinking a gallon of milk a day and sugaring it. Can you imagine a better way to get fat, right? But he trusted them. We've all trusted healthcare practitioners in the past. That's how we all got messed up, right? Misguided healthcare practitioners. I think he said he gained like 10 pounds in the first week or two, something crazy like that. And he's like, yeah, what's going on? And the practitioner told him, oh, no. Here's what you need to do. You need to double your milk intake, right? Doubling down. Doubling down is the sign you are with somebody who is effing you up. If they tell you, if you're like, I feel like crap, what should I do? And they're like, do more of the things that made you feel like crap. Definitely. You feel like crap, do more. And so he did. He went up to 2 gallons of milk a day, sugaring it and doing all the other food crap that they said. And I know he was eating liver. He gained 20 pounds in a month. Super lean guy gaining 20 pounds in a month. How do you get super lean if you don't already have a pretty good metabolism? And how would you shut down that metabolism? Oh, let's drink nature's gods, and whether you're into nature or God, anyway, let's drink God's most perfectly designed growth food for baby calves. And wonder why adults get fat when they drink milk. Let's wonder why. We take a food that's designed for when an organism, humans, cattle, whatever, are growing the fastest and probably have the best metabolic rate they're ever going to have in their lives, and we give them liquid food. Why do we give them liquid food? Because it doesn't fill them up. So they can eat enough, so they can grow. Okay? You adult men out there, and men and some of the women who have ever tried to bulk, you know how much solid food you have to shove in to gain muscle, right? To force your body to gain muscle that it doesn't want. What do they do to high schoolers? They put them on the GOMAD diet, the gallon of milk a day diet. And do they get bigger? Yeah. Do they get fatter? Of course they do. I did half a gallon a day. First time I did it, I was doing 20 rep squats and half a gallon of milk a day and trying to eat 3 good meals on top of that. I gained 15 pounds in a month. Now imagine you take somebody who's 40 years old, 50 years old, and they start eating a gallon of milk a day, they're just going to blow up. And they're going to have real trouble getting rid of that because now they've got 40 or 50 years of vitamin A toxicity that they just added on top of. This is why here's one thing I want you to look around at. Nobody 40, 50, 60 plus talks about Ray Peat in a good way. Nobody. Because as you get older and you get more toxic, and that toxicity and the nutrient deficiencies cause your metabolism to slow down, you put Ray Peat, drink orange juice and eat melons and eat dairy, eat cheese and sugar. This will make you lean. Who the hell ever thought that? And then there's the whole Mexican Coke thing. This is where people should just throw the Ray Peat bullshit out the window, saying Mexican Coke is a health food. Mexican Coke is a health food. Let me see. I wanted to find the I think it's on my Twitter. Where was it? I'm just going to take one article from ground.news. There's a bunch here. Let's see. I'll just read the titles to you. Mexico. I did a search for Mexico Coke addiction because that's what people had posted. And we're not talking about cocaine here. We're talking about Coca-Cola. Let me read these titles to you. Mexico's Coca-Cola problem. Mexico's Coca-Cola addiction. Mexico's deadly Coca-Cola addiction. The Coca-Cola addiction of Mexico's indigenous population. And you have Ray Peat cultists out there saying that Mexican Coke is a health food because it's got real sugar in it and phosphoric acid. Phosphoric acid will dissolve your teeth, folks. If you have phosphorus problems in your body, you have zinc deficiency problems. Let me help you with that. I fix it on hair tests all the time. I fix zinc and phosphorus at the same time without giving people phosphorus. It's a disaster. It's a disaster. So, if you're watching this and going, I'm doing it, I'm already doing the Ray Peat diet and it hasn't happened to me yet, then I'm saying, the longer you keep doing it, the sicker you're going to get, and the more loaded up with toxicity you're going to get, and the fatter you're going to get. And then it's just going to be more time to get you out of it. I deal with this every day. I get health refugees from the protocol. I get health refugees from Weston Price. I get health refugees from Ray Peat. I get health refugees from paleo and the autoimmune protocol. I get health refugees from the biggest names in the business. And I do what I do. So for those of you out there who go, do you treat this condition? Do you treat this condition? What do you do for this condition? What do you do for this one? Do you have a protocol? No, I don't. I do the same but different. I do the same thing with everybody. We're trying to stop putting in the poisons. We're trying to get the stored poisons out of the body. We are trying to restore the truly essential minerals, which there's not that many of them, to proper levels. And then the body fixes itself. And we have people figure out what foods work best for them along the way. And so if you want to talk about empowering people in their health, I'm teaching them how to figure out what is best for them. Now, people don't always know what's best for them, right? You have people out there smoking cigarettes going, I'm doing just fine. Like, I feel better when I have a cigarette. Well, because you're a junkie. I can't start my day without smoking some weed. It makes me feel better. That doesn't mean it's good for you. So we can be duped by our own body because we become addicted to poisons. Crackheads love crack. That doesn't mean it's good for them. So you get people who are addicted to vitamin A. Oh, I've posted research on this. Here, let me find it. Vitamin A is as addictive as tobacco. Let me find it. Now people go like, if I don't get my vitamin A, I don't feel right. Yeah, same thing with people who smoke cigarettes. There's been multiple studies on this that carotenoids are as addictive as cigarettes. And this is from people who have quit both of them. It was a small study, and it was questionnaire, but they were asking people, okay, so they'd quit carotenoids and they'd quit smoking. And they said, which was harder? Can you believe they're even asking this question? Which one was harder, quitting smoking or quitting carotenoids? 3 people said quitting smoking was harder. 3 people said that quitting carotenoids was harder, and 3 people said they were about the same. You don't get addicted to essential nutrients. Your body wants them, but those of you who have ever been addicted to something or craved something, you should know that like a craving, you feel it differently. It's like, I know this is bad for me, but I want it. Okay. Like I've told people before, I like meat. I like red meat. If somebody takes it away from me, I'm not going to be like, oh my God, I need some red meat. I'm not going to do that. I'd be like, dang, I'd really love to get some meat. But if I had to eat chicken, oh, I'll eat chicken. It's not a big deal. Would I rather have it? Yeah. But it's not like quitting a drug. Okay. Oh, Hope down there. I just saw the comment from Hope. My brother says it is harder to quit carotenoids than smoking. Yes. And somebody on the vitamin A toxicity group on Facebook the other day said, so we started eating low vitamin A, and now all of a sudden we're craving high vitamin A foods. And I'm like, yep, here's the link. You're addicted. So then you got like the nose to tail carnivores. This is a very interesting thing because this is the progression that's happening. The nose to tail carnivores, once they finally realize, they don't admit it publicly, but they realize in the background that nose to tail carnivores they're getting sicker, they're getting worse. Eczema tends to come up a lot on nose to tail. Weird coincidence. So then they start shifting over to Ray Peat. And I'm going to tell you something very interesting that I've seen is that when people are poisoned with retinol esters, retinol, when they're poisoned with animal vitamin A, as opposed to plant vitamin A, and they start taking in high doses of carotenoids, like a nose to tail carnivore who suddenly switches to adding a bunch of Ray Peat orange juice and mangoes and papayas and cantaloupes and all this stuff. Oh, and carrots. Don't forget the carrots. Maybe some sweet potatoes. And they start feeling better. There's something about carotenoids that lessens the feeling of toxicity from retinol. But remember in that study I just went over earlier about how the mice could have increased toxicity but not show the vitamin A toxicity symptoms? Do you actually think that you could be poisoned with retinol and retinol esters and then all of a sudden eat carotenoids and somehow you're going to be less toxic? No, you're just adding. You're stacking shit on top of shit is what you're doing. You might feel a little better for a while until the dam breaks. That's how this works. And folks, body temperature in regard. First of all, if you're on a diet where they're suggesting you take thyroid hormones to like raise your body temperature, let me explain this to you. Low body temperature is a symptom. Okay? It's a symptom, it's not a cause. you must get this through your mind first. If you left the emergency brake on your car and you start trying to drive it, and you notice that you have to push down the gas pedal harder to get to the same speed. And you're saying, well, I want to go 30 miles an hour. So let's say in a healthy person with a healthy metabolism that doesn't have the symptom of their emergency brake being on somewhere in the system, they push the gas pedal down X amount to go 30 miles an hour. But then they start doing something, I don't know, maybe they're eating carrot salad, which is known to cause hypothyroidism because of the carotenoids, and maybe they're doing something like that. And they have the emergency brake on, and now they have to push down the gas pedal twice as hard to go 30 miles an hour, while their engine and their brakes are getting worn out faster because they're simply insisting on driving 30 miles an hour. Now, imagine you have somebody who's following Peat ideas, and they say, I want my body temperature to be 98.6. That's the ultimate marker of health, is your body temperature. And so they start shoving down thyroid hormone. And you know what happens to a lot of people? They're like, I haven't even got my body temperature up to 98.6 and I'm getting all these hyperthyroid symptoms. You're trying to drive the same speed while you have the emergency brake on. Maybe you're missing a tire. You're just grinding the shit out of the bottom of your car at the same time. And I got the hyperthyroid. I got my heart's racing. My mind's racing. I'm tired but wired. I'm got diarrhea. My body temperature is kind of up, but it's not all the way up. And you've got the blind leading the blind being like, well, it's probably not the thyroid hormone. I mean, if you're having to take thyroid hormone, you're admitting that something's broken. It's not a judgment against you. You can, I just talked to somebody the other day, a client of mine who I think got off thyroid hormone a little too fast. And I said, I want you to go back on it, but I want you to find the minimal dose that gets rid of these symptoms. And then over time, we're going to wean you off. That's the other thing about hormones. When you take hormones from the outside, your body kind of gets addicted to them. That's not a good sign. But then the question becomes, how do we manage this? Because now remember that if you have an alcoholic, a true, really bad alcoholic, and you yank them off of alcohol, they could die. They could die. So maybe we don't yank people off hormones that their bodies get addicted to all at once. Seems smart, at least to me. And we also, if hormones are the top of the pyramid in terms of when people say hormones are the strongest things in your body, they're the most important things in your body, they're what rule everything. And you go, okay, so they're at the top of the pyramid, right? And they go, yes, okay. If you have low hormones, whether you're talking about thyroid hormones or sex hormones, estrogen, testosterone, progesterone. Oh yeah, Ray Peat loves to give progesterone. And if you haven't Googled progesterone toxicity yet, you should, because it's real. We store progesterone in our body fat. And what happens to women who often get given mega doses of progesterone by their functional medicine doctors and their Ray Peat practitioners and their naturopathic doctors, after a while, their liver and their body fat is so full of progesterone that it can't store anymore. And then where does the progesterone go? It goes into their blood. You want to know what happens to people when they get too much progesterone in their blood? The symptom that is most commonly described? A depression like a dark cloud comes over them. So around the same time I was experimenting with the Ray Peat thing, I was also experimenting with some testosterone replacement therapy on myself. And so I was reading the Ray Peat stuff. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I was not at the same time. This was when I'm an experimenter. Don't ever confuse me for anything other than an experimenter. Good scientists always experiment on themselves first, because it's unethical and immoral to experiment with ideas you're not sure about on other people. So everything in my program I have done myself. And I have, if you know anything about me and research, I've scoured the internet to get other people's impressions of what is going on before I talk about it in the program. So I was experimenting with, I thought this was before, anyway, I wanted to experiment with seeing if you could use hormones to induce, this is not the brightest moment in my life, to like male contraception. Because it's known that when you take testosterone, you can shut down your sperm production. Well, that's weird. Right now people hear me and they go, fertility is health and health is fertility. So if you're doing anything that decreases your fertility, that's implicitly unhealthy. And most people here listening are going, yeah. And I'm going, yeah, I hadn't figured that out 6 or 7 years ago. Or wait, how long is it? No, I'm sorry. This is like 9 years ago. 9 years ago. So I decided, I read about, you can also suppress, I forget, I think it's FSH by taking progesterone. So you can suppress sperm production by taking testosterone, and you can also suppress FSH production by taking progesterone, FSH being what stimulates sperm to come out, right, to be made, so you can release them. So I thought one day, because I can order these things, I ordered some injectable progesterone for myself. And my progesterone level on a lab was on the low side of normal. And I thought, okay, we're just going to try a little bit. I don't remember the dose, but it was like practically the smallest, the smallest line on the syringe. And I gave it to myself, and I went home that night, and a dark cloud of depression came over me. I was sitting at the dinner table going, what the hell is wrong with my brain? And I did as I do. I go and I start Googling, and I'm like, and where did I learn about progesterone toxicity? I learned about it that day. So then I thought, okay, I'm still doing this experiment, but I'm not gonna double down, and I'm not gonna, doc, it hurts when I do this. Well, then don't do that. It's pretty sure that injecting it again was going to be a bad idea. So then I cut the dose in half. I'm still fairly smart back then even. I thought if that was too much and that caused that symptom, let me see if cutting the dose in half makes it better. The effect was less. It was still there, absolutely. The dark cloud of depression, I felt it. It was not as bad. It was probably less than, half. Probably felt like maybe a quarter of what it was the first time, but it was only half a dose. And I went, okay, this experiment is over. I'm not taking this crap anymore. So I've made these mistakes, people. That's why I'm here. Taking progesterone, which is, Ray Peat loves to talk about like a natural diet and all this stuff. And then he's like, his followers are like, take thyroid hormone, take progesterone, take methylene blue, which is just a straight up drug. And they're some of them are serious druggies, basically. They're just throwing around, oh, this is natural. Yeah, okay. You tell yourself whatever you want. Methylene blue. So anyway, if I haven't poked enough holes in that for you yet, come back when you figure it out, when your real life experience tells you you messed up. You believed the wrong people. Now, let me just say something else. Is there a Ray Peat clinic out there? Does anyone know? Is there a Ray Peat clinic? Has there ever been a Ray Peat clinic? Or is Ray Peat just an academic working at a college? And his health ideas were simply put on the internet as a blogger. He's a blogger. He's a blogger spewing nutrition ideas on the internet, and he has gained a cult following. Is there a Ray Peat-inspired diet nutrition training program anywhere? No. No. He will supposedly answer emails for free. You can email him and ask him questions for free. How much is something that's free worth? Look at me. I'm all Illuminati now. I'm doing it. Right? As one YouTuber likes, I'm an Illuminati shill. Yeah, right. Right. Good one, dude. Zero. It's worth zero. And you know what I've heard about people who were talking to him and trying to tell him, he tells them what to do and they try it and they're like, it's not helping. I'm getting worse because they're doubling down. And you know what I've heard he does after he gets fed up with their not improving on his brilliance? He stops answering their emails. That's what I've heard. If that were true, that would be chicken shit. I had a guy, I told him, trying to work on his GERD, his horrible GERD for like 10 years. And I told him, I don't know. This was before the vitamin A thing, because since we did the vitamin A toxicity thing and I found out he took Accutane as a teenager, or he did Retin-A as a teenager, and he grew up on an orange tree farm. Hey, Ray Peters. After we figured that out and he went on the vitamin A detox, wait, we've almost got the GERD almost gone. And this guy who was like a shut-in in his house because he could only eat 4 foods is now out and about social dancing. But I told him at one point, I said, dude, I don't have any more tools. Like I'm out back then, I was like, I don't know what else to do. We've tried all the things that I know about. I didn't stop answering his phone calls. I didn't stop answering his emails. I said, dude, I want to help. You know, we've tried so many things. I don't know what else to do. And he said, you know what, Dr. Smith, I'm going to stick with you because you're the only person who doesn't think I'm crazy, who doesn't think this is all in my head, and who you're willing to keep looking. And I said, I am. And he stuck with me. And then we figured out the vitamin A thing. And now he's better. Some of you folks who may be refinding me, maybe we worked together in the past and I didn't help you as much as you wanted. I'm constantly evolving and I'm still here. You're welcome to come back. Nobody's perfect. Remember, we're trying to undo like a massive societal poisoning and nutrient deficiency problem that's been engineered. People who are trying to be like, well, this is not what they did 200 years ago. You don't live in the world of 200 years ago, brainiac. As the Dave Chappelle joke, modern problems require modern solutions. People back then didn't used to have to do these things. Well, no shit, Sherlock. Oh, Michael says, wish you a great show. Thank you. I'm getting to the questions now. Finally, I have about 20 minutes. Sorry about this, but deconstructing that was going to take a while. It needed to be done. Apocalypse Miracle says, what do you recommend for diverticulosis? First of all, make sure you don't have copper water pipes pushing copper into your water. Here, let's go. Let me see. I think it was. Come on, where's that study? Was it? It was not colitis. Was it Crohn's? I'm not gonna keep looking for it. There was a paper out there about Inflammatory bowel disease caused by copper in the water. Where is that study? Anyway, don't ever drink things out of copper containers. Don't use those copper like knee braces and elbow braces and stuff. You are absorbing copper from those things right through you. And poisons can make things feel better. I mean, why else do they give us opiates? They're giving you a poison to make something feel better. Don't fool yourself that putting copper on your skin is making you feel better. And it may when I take opiates, I feel less pain. When I put copper on my skin, I feel less pain. It's the same thing. You can use poisons have effects. Anyway, make sure you don't have copper water pipes, or if you do, then you're making sure that you're doing reverse osmosis for your drinking water, and you get a good shower filter that filters the copper out of that water, or you get your pipes changed. That's huge. Then we do the same things that we do in the program, and especially the people who work with me. You read the program, so you stop putting the poisons in. You do the things in the program as you are able to, as you tolerate them, to get the stored poisons out. And then through testing, not guessing, then addressing, you fix the mineral deficiencies, the critical mineral deficiencies, the real, actual, essential mineral deficiencies, which are not very many, but they're very, very important. And you fix those three things. So for anybody else who wants to ask me for what do I do for this? What do I do for this? What do I do for this? There is that's it. That's what I do. But every person, the overall approach, the concepts are the same. The implementation of each thing, depending upon a person's context and their history and their response to different things and their test results, that's different. That's why I do with all my testing and consultation package people. They get access to me for follow-ups in the office hours twice a week for the 6 months that is associated with their package, so that I can help them figure out the context and how to solve their own issue. I had somebody yesterday who seemed to, I think they were having a negative reaction to selenium that very slowly snuck up on them. The biggest problem with vitamin A toxicity is it slowly sneaks up on people. It's not like boom. It's slow. It's a slow burn. That's the hardest type to catch. Anyway, so what am I doing with this woman? I told her, stop taking the selenium for 2 weeks and report back. Does she have to pay for another consult to come and check in with me? No, because I included in the package. I do things differently, and I get different results. Mr. Mister says, I heard about studies transplanting fecal material from an overweight rat to a thin rat. Thin rat got fat. Seems that being heavy can be contagious. Is this true? What do you know about this? A messed up gut biome can change your bile. Your gut biome can take a dysbiotic gut can take primary bile acids and turn them into secondary bile acids, which are the most toxic. And then you reabsorb those through the enterohepatic circulation, and they're in your gut. So if you go and you look up what's the one? Lithocholic acid. Here, I'll do a quick search. Lithocholic acid cancer, PubMed. First hit. Lithocholic acid, a metabolite of the microbiome, increases oxidative stress in breast cancer. Okay. Lithocholic acid stimulates IL-8 expression in human colorectal cancer cells via activation of it. So, there's got to be a simpler one. Let's just do lithocholic acid, colon cancer. Why am I not finding the papers that are so obvious? Role of bile acids in colon cancer carcinogenesis. There's a good one. And then you're going to go and you're going to look at some of these links on that study, on that search I did. You're going to be like, well, wait, Dr. Smith, I'm confused. Some of the studies said lithocholic acid was protective against cancer, like breast cancer. How the hell does lithocholic acid, a secondary bile acid that's made in the gut, get to the breast? You reabsorb it. Are you supposed to have bile in your blood? No. How does it escape the bile pathway? Leaky bile. It's called cholestasis. So by definition, if you're going to say that some bile affects the breast, it implies that cholestasis is absolutely present. And you should never have bile in your blood. For a truly healthy person, there should never be bile in your blood. But what you're going to see is you're going to see little cell studies, just like they do with retinoic acid. They're going to do cell studies. They're going to do more and more of these. Cell studies are how they've hidden the poisoning of society from you. You only have one turnover of cells. You don't have long-term damage that you can see. You have one turnover of cells. So they can give you something. Like, think about it. If a person had, let's say they have a sporting event and they don't drink coffee and they have coffee that one day. And they're like, oh my God, I was amazing. Did you see how much energy I had? And I focused and I could do all this stuff and it was great. And they don't drink coffee again. Are they probably going to be fine? Yeah, they're probably going to be fine. But they start drinking coffee every day. And then they have to start drinking coffee to feel normal. And they start getting more and more tired. And they start not sleeping well. And their health is going down the tubes because they're running on a stimulant every day. The way I want you to think of stimulants is stimulants, they're increasing the speed of everything in your system. And so things are going to wear out faster. It just makes sense, right? If you have an engine in a car and you put a turbocharger on it and you run that turbocharger all the time, do you think your engine is going to burn out quicker? Yeah. So if you're taking stimulants all day, every day, you're going to burn out the cells quicker. But in a cell study, do you get to see that? So you have all these cell studies. Oh, I don't know, like the ceruloplasmin and all trans-retinoic acid, showing that it helps. And then I showed the chicken study, which was 3 weeks, and where they gave the vitamin A deficient chickens. Well, they had vitamin A deficient chickens, and they had the highest ceruloplasmin of the whole group. This is what I call the duration paradox, which is things that are poisons in the long term will often look good in the short term. Or you could say that things that are poisonous often look good in cell studies in the short term, but are complete disasters in the whole body in vivo long term. And this is evident everywhere. So basically, most of the time, if you see a cell study and it says this is a good thing, you can probably be sure it's a bad thing. How do you think pharmaceutical companies are showing you that their stuff is good and it works? Because you know people who have been on more meds for a long time, and is their health good? No, but the studies looked good. Duration paradox. Learn it, live it, love it. So if you change the gut microbiome, you make more secondary bile acids. Secondary bile acids are the most toxic of the bile acids, and they can cause problems. Absolutely. So, but yeah, the microbiome, okay, I don't remember the paper off the top of my head, but the gut microbiome affects the bile. And they specifically said this in the research paper. The gut microbiome affects the bile acid profile. And the bile acid profile, because then you're going to enterohepatically circulate that back up to the liver. The liver's going to take those bile acids, put them back into the bile, spit it back into the gut, and that's going to affect the gut microbiome. Okay? You have this loop. Gut microbiome affects the bile affects the gut microbiome. And I'm not going to look up that paper right now, but that's exactly what they said. So if you change the gut microbiome by infecting healthy rats with a sick microbiome, could you change that whole loop? Absolutely. Yeah. Is it just vitamin A that makes people fat? No, it's not just that. It's the liver and the bile, and that's what vitamin A affects. People should never put me in a box of saying vitamin A causes everything. Vitamin A is the thing that nobody knows about. that causes huge problems. And we have people shoving more of it into their face because they think it's healthy. That's the problem with vitamin A. Okay, but it's the cholestasis, the subclinical cholestasis in the bile that is causing everything else. So that's how a gut microbiome could affect obesity. Here, let's do this. Serum bile obesity PubMed. Oh, gosh, cholestasis doesn't connect to anything. Here's a paper. High serum bile acid level in obesity. High serum bile acid level in obesity. Its decrease during and after total fasting. I'm not going to go past the title of that study. You're not supposed to have any bile in your blood. And they just said that obese people have more bile in their blood. And then they said the bile in the blood went down during fasting. Why would that be? Why do people say that they feel better and their health conditions often go away during fasting? What triggers bile dumping? Eating. So what happens when you don't eat? You don't dump bile from the liver. Therefore, you're not putting more bile in your blood. And what does this give the body the chance to catch up on? The liver the chance to catch up on? It gets to pull all the bile out of the blood, and then finally you get to get rid of it. You get to catch up. Like think of it at work. You got a bunch of work stacked up, and all of a sudden, let's say you could make it so no new work came in. Can you catch up on your pile and trim it down? Yes, that's what fasting does. This is why you got the people out there, the high fat people, eat high fat. This will make you healthy. And you got the vegans out there, eat vegan and it'll make you healthy. And you got these extremes. And I said, as time was going on, at some point, people are going to get to the point where not eating is the solution because none of the food solutions that they're proposing are working. Why do the nose-tail carnivores? Why are they going to Ray Peat? Why do the paleo people go to Ray Peat? Why do the vegans eventually realize that they probably need to eat more protein? What causes cholestasis, bile in the blood, in terms of big macronutrient ideas? High-fat diets cause cholestasis, leaky bile. They also cause dysbiosis, and they kill the bifido in your gut. High fructose diets cause cholestasis. Boy, you nose-tail carnivores, man, you are hurting. It's coming. Low protein diets cause cholestasis. And high vitamin A diets cause cholestasis. You ever notice? So let's just think about this in terms of drugs and addiction. You ever notice how over time drug addicts start using more and more drugs and they seem to feel like they need it to feel better? What happens to vitamin A people? They use more and more in the hopes that someday they're going to feel better. And what happens when people quit their drug of choice? Do they feel better right away? They feel like hot garbage. Part of the price you pay when people quit vitamin A, they often sometimes they'll have a honeymoon phase where they feel so much better and they're like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing. I feel so much better." And then all of a sudden I say, "It's coming. It's coming. The honeymoon phase is going to end. Just letting you know. It's not all like unicorns and rainbow farts. It's coming." I mean, who else tells you that? Who else is telling you do this? And at some point you're going to feel like shit. It's coming. Who tells you that? Who warns people don't take too much lactoferrin at the start because it's really strong, and if you take too much, it's going to make you feel bad. So start super slow. Who says that about a supplement? As the joke is what on the internet. Some of us are just built different. I would rather you took longer to build up to things so you suffer less than to jump in. And then, the jumping in people, the people who advise just jump in with both feet, they get some amazing testimonials very quickly. But then there's also, they kind of ignore the bodies that are left in the road because they just didn't fit the protocol. I don't do that. I try not to. And I still have people who overdo it because we're Americans, right? We overdo everything. I only got a couple more minutes. So let's see. You guys were having your discussion. James says, worth noting that both the admin and moderator of the Ray Peat forum now eat low vitamin A, so they're figuring it out. This is why, one of the places that people find out about me the most is the Ray Peat forum. Apparently, talking about me and the vitamin A toxicity problem is the most read thread on the entire forum, is what I've heard. I don't go there. Some of those guys think they're the smartest thing to ever hit the earth while they sell drugs on the side. Legal drugs. Butch says, what do I think about the value of blood donation? I use it with my clients who get their ferritin measured. I give them the option and I give them guidance on how many blood donations they might do to bring their ferritin down faster, which can give them some symptom relief quickly. I also tell them, if you go and donate blood and you feel like garbage afterwards, don't do it again. I've heard of people doing a certain protocol where their ferritin is never measured and all of their symptoms are associated with, they're obviously from, you have a bioavailable copper deficiency, which is affecting your ability to utilize iron properly in your cells and blah, 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 blah. And you should go donate blood to get rid of the iron overload. So people will go, they don't know their ferritin, they go and donate, and they come back and they're talking to their practitioner, and their practitioner says, okay, you're obviously detoxing iron now, and you should go donate blood again. Don't measure their ferritin. You should obviously go donate blood again. You're iron toxic. Most of them aren't actually doctors, so they can't order labs, so they don't. So they act like blood tests don't matter when they do. And then the person goes and donates a second time, and they feel even worse. Take a wild guess as what happens next. Do they measure ferritin? No, you're obviously detoxing more. You have so much iron that you have to get rid of. Go donate again. And at some point, hopefully, those of you who are listening to this, you go, oh, maybe I should stop doing this. Maybe I've gone too far. Instead of doubling down. I had a guy, let me tell you a quick story. I had a guy with a ferritin of 500 something. That's high. You don't want that. There are some labs who will say that that's totally within the normal range. You don't want a ferritin of 500. Down around 30 to 70, 25 to 75, somewhere in that range. There's a possibility it may be able to go lower in people who are doing the right things, like fixing their copper toxicity, disregarding bioavailable copper, and avoiding vitamin A. There's a possibility that the ferritin may go down even lower, but we don't force it, just like we don't force your body temperature to go up by drugging you with thyroid hormone. We don't force it. We say, here's a symptom, let's fix the causes, and then the body will move it in the direction that it wants. So I had a guy with a 500 ferritin. He goes and donates blood. Most people would be like, oh, he had a ferritin of 500. He's probably going to feel amazing after he donates blood. He felt like shit. So should I be irresponsible and tell him to keep going in and doing something that makes him feel like shit? Or did I tell him, okay, the things we do in the normal program will eventually fix this. It just takes longer. So if you don't feel good donating and you don't want to donate again, and he was like, I don't want to donate again. I was like, okay, then don't. This isn't that hard. It doesn't seem that hard to me, but blood donations are fixing a symptom. So here's how they fit into the equation of what I do. We are trying to reduce the toxins in the system, and we are trying to restore the essential minerals. So especially the people who are working with me, they have the Love Your Liver program, which tells them what toxins to avoid and general things that they can do in their diet. And just so you know, people think, if you think the Love Your Liver program is like a PDF, like little ebook, it's not. There's something, I think somebody counted up, there's like 12 videos in there and 23 articles, and that's not even including the old vitamin A detox archives that you get access to, stuff that I just haven't moved over yet to the main program. It's huge. Those of you out there who think I'm trying to just peddle a little ebook, if those of you in the comments who want to talk about like the extensiveness of the program, feel free to comment, because I don't think people realize just how much stuff is in there. And then I have people who don't even read it, and I'm like, and they're asking me questions. They're like, so what do I do about this? And I'm like, oh, there's an entire article or series of articles in the Love Your Liver program. I mean, I have 4 articles on potassium by itself. And you know what somebody told me a couple of weeks ago? They said, none of the practitioners I ever worked with before ever told me anything about potassium. And I started getting the right potassium and the right amount for me. And oh my God, this is the most amazing thing I've ever done. And I'm like, nice work. What do I tell people in their consults? If you don't fix your potassium, it doesn't mean just take more. If those of you out there who are just like, I'm just going to shove potassium in my cake hole, you may get lucky. You might get lucky. You might overdo it. Too much potassium can cause you heart rhythm problems. Some people don't react good to certain types of supplemental potassium. Some people can do it through food. I talk about all of that. And when the people do it right, I tell them this is the thing. Like potassium, when you get it right, you feel it within an hour. How cool is that? Might you want to lean on the experience and the experiences of myself and 1,100 plus people inside the program? You might. You could do it all on your own, try to figure it out. But I absolutely tell people the biggest thing that people leave on the table is potassium. They don't do it. They don't fix their magnesium either. That's the second one. They don't do their topical magnesium because they haven't experimented with the different kinds to find one that works, or they haven't tried these other things, or they're just honestly, and people on my program admit this, they might just be lazy. That happens. And then they get their hair test back and I go, you got to work harder on your magnesium. It's falling off here. If you've done hair testing and you can't bring your magnesium up and you're trying to rely on pills of magnesium, I'm going to tell you why. Pills of magnesium generally, for like 95% of the people out there, suck. They don't work. It's as simple as that. I can show it to you on hair tests. Topical magnesium, that is magnesium that you absorb through your skin. There's like 4, 5, 6 different approaches that you could use, is, in my opinion, 10 times as effective as pills. So if you're trying magnesium pills and you're like, well, I take them because I heard they were good for me, but it doesn't seem to be doing anything. And then you'll have those same people, they'll try some topical magnesium, like some magnesium lotion. And all of a sudden they're like, that was amazing. That was the best night of sleep I've had. I had one guy tell me he's had sleep problems his entire life. And when he started using magnesium lotion, he said the very first night he was like, that's the first time I've slept through the night in like 20 years. And he'd taken magnesium pills in the past. They don't work for like 95% of the people. I don't care what the research is that you look at. Sometimes I care a lot about the research, and sometimes I don't care. Because I'm like, that research is not showing up in real people. It doesn't work that way in real people. Do I value blood donation? Yes. I used to run ferritins around 110, 120, 130. And I used to donate blood based on that. I have very specific guidelines that I give people about how many times to donate blood in a 6-month period before they get their ferritin run again to check and see how it's going. And I would do that. And as I did what I do here, do you know that vitamin A increases the absorption of iron from the diet and from supplements? Weird that there's a protocol out there telling people to fix their iron overload and their iron toxicity, and yet they say that you absolutely need vitamin A. Weird. Those don't seem to work together. Anyway, I think, well, I remember my last ferritin without donating blood for 6 months stayed at about a 53, which was right in the range I wanted. And I'm waiting on labs to, those of you who have seen my video here on YouTube of my blood labs where I went over the full thing. Those are still in progress. Like, I don't know if you know this, but LabCorp is having real trouble getting out vitamin A and even retinol binding protein tests now. They're taking them a really, really long time to get these labs out. I don't know if there's some sort of conspiracy going on, but it seems really weird that I'm talking about vitamin A toxicity and Grant's talking about vitamin A toxicity and Mawson's writing papers on it. And now even the Ray Peat Forum people are talking about it. And all of a sudden the lab tests are getting very, very slow. Coinky dink? I don't know. But I'm waiting on my labs. I've got the vitamin D test back. Oh, my vitamin D was perfect. Perfect. I forget which other one I got back. Oh, my thyroid hormones. Oh, you need vitamin A to make thyroid hormones. People out there are saying that. People following certain protocols, and probably the Ray Peters are saying, oh, yes, you need vitamin A for your thyroid. I've been minimizing it for almost 4 years now. My thyroid labs are fine, and I could stand up and lift up my shirt to show you that my thyroid status is just fine. Maybe you don't need vitamin A for thyroid. Maybe transthyretin. They'll talk about this. Oh, transthyretin. Transport, not trans, but transport, thyr, thyroid, retin, retin, retinol. Your body makes a protein that binds to transport T4, thyroid hormone, and vitamin A together. So the common story is because your body loves vitamin A and it needs it so much, they love to make up bullshit about vitamin A to make you think you need it. They'll say, oh, this is delivering thyroid hormone and vitamin A to the tissues that need it, just like retinol binding protein. But then in the same research, they'll say that you need retinol binding protein to bind to the retinol because free retinol is super duper toxic. So if you don't bind it up enough, you get vitamin A toxicity. You could have not that much vitamin A in your system, but if you don't bind it up enough, you get toxic because free retinol is super toxic. Oh, but retinol binding protein is there to deliver. It's like the prison bus, right? It's carrying the prisoners to the work site. And you're hoping that they don't escape the bus on the way there. So let's look at this from another perspective. Maybe the body has to protect us. We know about retinol binding protein, and maybe transthyretin is a binding protein that is meant to protect us from retinol. Different perspective, right? So let's say you have a lot of vitamin A toxicity in your system. Oh, and remember that study I just talked about earlier about high carotenoids causing hypothyroidism. So what if you have an excess of retinol in your system And to help combat that, to protect you from it, your body makes a binding protein that just so happens, as part of its structure, to incorporate a thyroid hormone into that structure. Now that's a bound thyroid hormone. Is that a free thyroid hormone able to do things like promote your metabolic rate? No, it's bound. It can't do anything. So therefore, if they were analyzing your blood for total thyroid hormone, would they find that thyroid hormone? Yes. Is it able to do anything functionally in real life? No, because it would still be bound in your body. So that would be taking away from your free thyroid hormone levels, and you get less thyroid activity. The more retinol you have, the more transthyretin you make, the more you bind up your T4. And what are we talking about here a lot? The liver. What converts the T4 that your thyroid makes into T3? Oh, it's your liver. Oh, so if we hurt your liver, what would happen to your thyroid conversion? Oh, it would go down. It goes down. I've shown all the studies on vitamin A and hypothyroid here, I believe. Let me go find that one for those of you who want to read. Mm. So there's a bunch of studies showing that vitamin A lowered thyroid hormone. And some of them were strange because some of them showed that the TSH would go up with vitamin A toxicity, and some of them would show that the TSH would go down with thyroid toxicity. So everybody who tries to put vitamin A toxicity into one box, I'm going to tell you that some people, when they get vitamin A toxic, they get iron overload. Some people, when they get it, fewer get anemic. Some people, when they get vitamin A toxicity, their TSH goes up. And some people, more rare, it goes down. This all depends on the status of your liver. There's genetics that plays a role in this. Do I know the genetics? No, I just look at how it's expressing in people. I look at their labs and I look at their phenotype as how it's expressing. There's basically the two big phenotypes. There's overweight and there's underweight. I have classes for these called overtypes and undertypes. And they're not as strict as people might think. So Hive Tyrant said, oats work for me. Lots of oats solved my concrete guts. I think I pooped out a small dog this morning. This is a very important, well, this is what I'm going to end on. This is the last thing I'm going to go over today. I'm trying to get the, oh my gosh, Google, YouTube with their verification and all this stuff. Oh my gosh. Sending your tax information and making sure it matches everything exactly and getting all the pictures of your driver's license and your incorporation documents. It's just like I tried at a bunch and they just kept rejecting it. And I'm going, what's the problem? And I'm hoping to get that done so that we can do super chats. So those of you who really want to get your questions answered, it can move to the top. Now, just so you know, if you really wanted to get questions answered by me in the most unedited, self-censored way possible, that's inside the Love Your Liver network. So you'd want to join that. If you work with me as a testing and consultation client, you get free access to that. But inside the network, once you're inside the network, the inner circle, which I'm going to go do today. Oh, we have our monthly guest, Grant Genereux, the guy who figured out vitamin A toxicity. He's coming today, and he usually stays for about an hour and answers people's questions if they have questions for him. And then I keep going after that. After Grant, he's been there a bunch, so we've answered a lot of questions from him. But anyway, then I keep answering questions. That's what we do, that once a month. Normally, I do this once a week, and I just answer questions. But that's where I'm the most uncensored, where I can say things about, I don't know, pokies and injections and world orders and other things of that nature. Anyway, But that's the inner circle. So that's where I get into that. But soluble fiber, folks, I talk about this in the program. I think I have an 1.5-hour video going over this in the program. So if you think it's just, you're going to get a soundbite here, but if you want all the information, that's inside the program. Soluble fiber in certain people, so, I mean, in everybody, it soaks up bile. That's a good thing. We want it to soak up bile and poop out that toxic bile. That's how we get it. But in some people, too much soluble fiber will constipate them. And in some people, soluble fiber helps them poop like a champ. So for those of you listening to this here and you go, oh my gosh, I started increasing my soluble fiber and I'm not pooping as much anymore. Lower your soluble fiber intake. You need to poop. That's how you detox. That is your best way of detoxing, is pooping. If you're not pooping, then the detox load is going to be shifted more towards your kidneys and more towards your skin. You need to poop. So, people trying to take, let's say, charcoal or soluble fiber, and they're taking too much of it and they're gumming up their intestines because they don't have enough bile in their intestines, because bile in your intestines is the trigger for you to poop. That's weird. I say bile is toxic, and you need a certain amount of bile in your intestines to trigger the pooping mechanism. And if you have too much bile in your intestines, you get diarrhea because your body wants to get rid of it so bad. But if the bile goes into your blood because you have subclinical cholestasis, the bile is by definition not in your intestines. The bile is going into your blood to affect your thyroid, cause you to get constipated too, and you don't poop. Or we could create this same effect in another way. You put too much soluble fiber and too much charcoal down in your guts, and it soaks up all the bile that's around, holds it away from the intestinal walls so that you don't trigger a poop. So then you stop yourself up. Dr. Smith, what is the optimal amount of soluble fiber that I should be taking in every day? Is it helping you poop? Or is it not helping you poop? Answer that question, and I just answered whether you should go up or down. For now, as you get more, let's say you're a constipated person, as you get more and more bile into your intestines, you'll poop better, and then you can increase those. If you tend towards diarrhea, you need to soak up more bile in your intestines, and you could do more of those. It's a systems approach. Somebody just told me, they're like, I know you're very familiar with systems theory and all this stuff. And I'm like, I never learned systems theory. I just do it because it makes sense. I just think of the body as a bunch of, like systems. You got a plumbing system. It's called your circulatory system. You got, the chemical balance of it. You got the electrical balance of it. You got the structure of it. That's your bones. You've got the pulley system, the mechanics of it. That's the muscles. You've got the heart is the pump that drives the whole sewer, the system. The lymphatic system is the sewer system. You got the nervous system, which is what controls everything. And just while we're on that, just to give you guys some more to read. You want to know about how bad vitamin A is for the nervous system, which runs everything in your system. The last thing I'm going to do here is post this paper called The Neurotoxic Effects of Vitamin A and Retinoids. The neurotoxic effects of vitamin A and retinoids. The neurotoxic effects of vitamin A and retinoids. There's one line that I really love in this paper. If you're listening to this video, you are probably well nourished. You are probably not starving. You probably have a roof over your head. Okay? And this statement that they're making in this paper has 4 references that they connected to it. I'll put the quote in here. Nonetheless, it has been demonstrated that vitamin A intake, they didn't distinguish natural or synthetic. Nonetheless, it has been demonstrated that vitamin A intake among well-nourished subjects may lead to decreased life quality and increased mortality rates. And then they put 4 references linked after that. You think they came to that conclusion like lightly? When they put 4 they put 4 references to cover their butt from their colleagues who are going to say, no, vitamin A is necessary and good, and it's good for everybody. So let's just say Ray Peters. Would you say they're well nourished if they're eating sugar and sugary fruits and cheese and milk and eggs and liver and coconut oil and butter? And do you think they're well nourished? I mean, obviously they're getting fat as hell. And they're taking in tons of vitamin A. What does this lead to? Decreased life quality and increased earlier death. Earlier death. Oh, it's 201. I'm trying to put this in here. Hold on. It's 201 characters. Here we go. There it is. I put that quote in there. So don't follow Ray Peat's advice. It's a disaster. That's the too long didn't read. Now, one last thing I want to go over before I go. I know I've mentioned before that I was going to adjust the cost of the Love Your Liver membership, and this is not happening tomorrow or anything, but the price, what's going to be happening right now. First of all, you should know that if you work with me on a testing and consultation package, you automatically get lifetime access to the Love Your Liver basic program, because that is the diet and lifestyle stuff that I need you to know that I don't have time to explain on a consult. Okay? I give that to people who work with me doing hair testing and blood testing and the support and the consult and all that stuff. That is absolutely part of the package. That's lifetime access. Currently, the price of the basic Love Your Liver program gets you lifetime access. All the updates that ever happen. Okay? I am going to be changing that probably about a month from now. So I'm giving you plenty of heads up. The price is going to go up, and it's going to become a yearly fee for people who just do the basic Love Your Liver. So if you're already in the program, your grandfather, nothing is changing for you. Let me repeat that. If you are already in the program, the basic Love Your Liver program, nothing changes. Please don't email Julie freaking out. Please save her some emails. She gets so many emails a day. She's super efficient, and Julie's ride or die. So let me tell you something about Julie. Be nice to her. Because if Julie comes to me and she says, this person is not being very cool, I will shut it down. I will tell her that you're not welcome. Don't mistreat my staff. I'm booked out 2.5 months. I don't need rude people. Okay? If you haters just want to call and email and try to talk shit, I mean, you can. We're just going to hang up on you. I mean, seriously, we're not here to take abuse from people who can't think. Because the haters are growing, which means we're over the target. So anyway, people who sign up for testing and consultation packages working directly with me will still get lifetime access in the future. The basic program, like I'm saying, for people who are not in it yet, will be going up and it will become a yearly charge. So just want to give you guys a heads up. I will be announcing it everywhere on social media so you can know when it's going to happen. So if you're a procrastinator, you'll know if you're following me. And if you didn't know, I'm on Instagram. All my social media links are down below in the notes for the show. And that's about it. Hope you all had fun today. Like I said, I'm really going to try to get those super chats going. I think I finally figured out the problem with Google YouTube on that stuff. But anyway, I will see you later. Have a great weekend. Bye now.